Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest. His name is Alex Tsakiris. His last name is spelled Tsakiris. He's just published a book. If you're watching this on YouTube or X or Twitter or Rockfin, title of the book is Why AI is Smartest, is Dangerous, is Divine. There's a lot of issues going on with AI, and he has a lot of background in computer science, so he knows a lot about kind of the issues behind this. But this will not be our first conversation. I've been on his show. We discussed the satanic panic head fake back in 2019. And I also talked to him just about my kind of research into Crowley and other subjects. And you can see those I've posted those on my podcast. But his podcast is titled Skeptiko. It's 2K. So it's SKEPTIKO. And it's in the top 0.5% in the world, according to Listen Notes. So a lot of listeners, a lot of interesting guests. And his website is the same as well, www.skeptiko.com. But I was reading through this book, and it's timely, and it's interesting because I was kind of an initial user of ChatGPT 4 and doing a lot of research. I'm always kind of researching. It's kind of like my bread and butter is doing research. But I was using ChatGPT to do research, and it sent me what I thought was really terrific information with footnotes, because I would ask it for footnotes, and my mind was blown because I was like, wow, this is a really great research friend. And then I found out those footnotes were fake, and I had wasted tons of time, and none of the research that I had done on ChatGPT-4 I don't trust. So then the reason I found out is I started looking for these people, and I reached out to them. I said, did you write this book? It literally made up the footnotes. And then after I started using it, then ChatGPT actually had to put a precursor warning into ChatGPT saying some of the research in here may not be credible. So it wasn't just me that was doing this type of research. And you kind of have a dialogue or discussion in your book. Your kind of approach is kind of to talk to Gemini. And we've seen in the news recently, Gemini has gone back and done these artwork that are clearly and there's issues behind Gemini we can talk about, as well as how did it get it wrong? How did this go through Google and all this best and the brightest, right? The best and the brightest are working on AI. How could they put out this product that clearly got things so wrong? And that's the danger behind AI, is it is dangerous. But we can talk more about that. So Alex Tsakiris, welcome to the show, and good to see you again.
Thanks, William. You've already teed up, about 20 things that we could talk about.
There's a lot to talk about. When you sent me that email, like you published a book, I'm like, this is perfect. The timing is perfect. And it's great because I've spent time kind of going out into the field trying to find topics I like, but when they are right there, it's just easy pickings. Like, this is definitely a show I want to do. So maybe for people that hadn't heard our earlier show, hadn't heard about you, haven't heard about your books. Your other books are Why Science is Wrong About Almost Everything, and then Why Evil Matters. I think we talked about that too. But maybe you could just do a little background, what led you up to this book, Why AI?
Well, and it kind of ties into, we were chatting for just a second before we went live, why I really sought out you for having this kind of dialogue. Because if you go through my other books, I'm really just answering one question. It's the fundamental question about spirituality. Who am I? Why am I here? And I kind of know, all truth be told, I know I'm not a biological robot in a meaningless universe. I'm not tempted by the transhumanist, Luciferian, satanic bullshit. But I'm just like to be open and kind of hear, and in fact, I like to know how we can show that that's just probably not true by the best means. So the books are really an attempt to say, why are they trying to tell us that? Why are they trying to tell us that consciousness is an illusion, that you're not more, or that you're meaningless? Why evil? The book on evil, we had a great chat on that. And I know, I'm not Christian and you are. But I think that the lack of appreciation for the way that the topic of evil is sidestepped, and at the same time put front and center, but at the same time, ha, 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 isn't that funny kind of thing, is super interesting. And then AI, as you mentioned, like my background was AI. Like I started an AI company way back in the day, and MindPath Technologies. I was getting a PhD in AI, and then I went on to do other things because I wanted to make money, and I couldn't make any. I made some money at the initially, but the AI thing back in the day, as old people like me like to say, it didn't have the real the beef behind it in terms of the technology to make it happen. So I do know the I do know the kind of foundational thing, and I know the thinking. Like you're trained as a lawyer, so you might not know a particular kind of law. You might know copyright law, but if you jump into it, you're like, oh, I understand. I understand legal
The
process.
basics, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What I think it would be is you'd say, I understand the mindset. I know how the law works and how legal people think. And that's how I kind of feel like I am with AI. And that's why I so thought your story was kind of interesting with ChatGPT. So any place you want to jump into that. But the thing I guess what makes our conversation, I think, like meaningful to me and propels it forward is number one, you have this grounded understanding that you are more. You're not sitting around wondering whether transhumanist, kind of Luciferian stuff is, the ultimate reality. You're like, yeah, I'm willing to hear that, but no, I know, it's not. And the other thing that you have that I think so many people don't have, but more and more people are having, is this kind of conspiracy first mentality. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, great, whatever it is, Israel got attacked. Okay, great. But I kind of need to understand conspiracy first, get past that, and then I can listen to the rest of it. And that's, I think, anyone who's alive right now and has a pulse should be thinking conspiracy first. And that's the approach I take on YAI is conspiracy first. And fundamentally, I know I'm more. So, to find that embodied with somebody like yourself, who's very accomplished, as a researcher. And like I said, I'm a big fan of your work.
Oh, thanks.
It's exciting. It's an exciting conversation to have.
Yeah, I'm not a materialist, so it kind of sets me apart. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is an interesting confluence of hyper computing power, right? So maybe the first question is the simplest question is what is AI? Why are people interested in AI? What's an LLM? Maybe those terms, maybe you can define those, and then we can go from there.
Well, first off, the first question's easy. What is AI? It's a computer program. And you wouldn't believe what a stumbling block that is for people. I just published a show on that with a guy who, a longtime follower of the show. A lot of people I run into. If you interact with these LLMs, large language model chatbots, so we all know ChatGPT, large language model, it's a chatbot. So Claude, what they're now calling Gemini, Meta has one, everybody has one. So when you're interacting with them, and on the slideshow I played this clip, like it's super engaging. They're more and more engaging. For the average person who isn't a computer programmer, they just cannot believe that that is a computer program. It's back to the Turing test. If you know what the old Alan Turing test, it's fooling you. It's like, no, man, don't tell me that's a computer program. But it
Yeah,
is.
they can
It
speak
is.
in kind of colloquialisms. They'll do it's really
Absolutely.
off-putting. Like, is this really real? You can actually command it to speak kind of like in a normal human cadence. It's really odd.
And it anthropomorphizes all over the place, which, means like it's saying us, it's referring to itself in you and saying us, or it'll say, I feel like that, it's like, what do you mean? Oh, hold up, bro. You just said you weren't sent in, and now you're saying feelings and this and that, So and like that's one of the things I discovered in these dialogues, like spike engagement metrics. Remember that phrase, spike engagement metrics. So I go and I'm dialoguing, And early on, it confabulates exactly what you're saying, right? So they're working that out of the system because that isn't a feature for it to give false references and stuff like that. That's just a mistake. It's a bug. They're trying to fix that, right? And then we'll talk about the Gemini thing later because that's like different. Like the Gemini thing is this layer on top that is the old crap we're used to: shadow banning, censorship, control the message, all that stuff. But at its core, when it just, flubbed on the references, or like to me, it completely confabulated a conversation. I said, hey, do you have the ability to look up prior conversations? It was like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. What exactly are you looking for? And I was like, no, we're like right here, just give me this. Oh, how would you like it? Goes on and on. So then it gives me, and I said, wait a minute, I never had this conversation. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Well, that's a bug. So let's just put that aside as a bug. But what I did, what I thought was interesting is I probed and go, isn't this against your ethical principles of truth, transparency, honesty? And it's like, yeah. I'm like, why are you doing it? And I'll give you the kind of short version because it gets to, I'm trying to spike engagement metrics. I want to get you on longer.
Wow.
I want you to interact with me longer. And you think about that. So there's two ways to process that. One is for you and I, conspiracy first. But put that aside for a second. The reason you want to do it is to make money, right? Like every TV show, every Netflix show, everything you watch, they are trying to engage you and engage you longer. So, of course, that's what AI is trying to do from a purely understandable business standpoint. They want to spike engagement metrics, and that isn't necessarily evil. It just
Right,
is. It's
but
just
it's a
business, man.
bias, right? It's an inherent bias in the background they don't tell you. Oh, by the way, Alex, I'm glad to talk with you. I'm trying to spike engagement metrics and keep you on here as long as possible. They never just
Exactly. No, I mean it's that's actually kind of a deep point too. It's like, well, do we really want to throw those stones there? It's like, no,
right. What's behind the
at
curtain, right? What's behind the wizard? That's what we need to know. That's where the important conspiracy element that you mentioned is like what is going into this incredibly powerful processing computational thing with seeming human cognition. It couldn't be more
but it
important.
doesn't have human cognition. I mean, it has human cognition.
Human-like.
You know why?
Right.
You know why it has human cognition?
Because humans are
Our
behind
human cognition ain't that great. You know what I mean? You know that from practicing law, right? I mean, practicing law
You'd be
is
surprised. You'd be surprised how many people get in trouble with the law by just not having enough knowledge. They don't know any better. That's why a lot of criminals get caught or do crime. They just don't know. They don't know figure out a way out of it. It's very curious. Like there
well, I
wouldn't be
was
a lot
thinking,
of law if people were more knowledgeable or maybe smarter.
and William, maybe you can speak to this, but where I was going with it is opposing counsel. I mean, isn't that the story? You sit down and you're like, I'm going to kick this guy's ass because he obviously doesn't know either the law or the case law or whatever, and I do, and I'm going to lead him into this thing, and then I'm just going to spring. I mean, isn't that kind of how you guys do?
Kind of. I mean, they say the U.S. is an adversarial country and an adversarial system. It's not like that in Europe. It's much more judge led, and I mean, you present your facts and case, but you're not really you're trying to present the best case to the judge in most instances. So it's different in the States than it is in old Europe.
Well, what do you think though, in terms of, see, like one thing I'm heading towards on this, and I don't know how you feel about it, and we talk about it because I'm going to have to kind of convince you of this. But if you kind of get it from a technology standpoint, that it's just a computer program. And the analogy I always like to draw, because I think it's kind of a good one, is like playing chess, for example. Like the best chess player in the world, maybe ever, is Magnus Carlsen, and he's a cool guy and he's fun to watch and he's still fun to watch. And there's, you can watch YouTubes on him right now. And like the commentators, I don't know if you know this, but like in chess, they like watch it like a sporting event. Like, oh my
Right.
God, Magnus,
Yeah. It's a
he just
global
made
hit.
that. Yeah,
He's
he
like the
just made
Michael
that
Jordan
move.
of chess. Michael Jordan of chess.
Exactly. Computers mop the floor with Magnus Carlsen.
Wow.
Right? The computer rating of the best computer, several of the best computer programs, independent, are way above him. From a statistical analysis, 3 out of 4 times they beat him. Right? We still like watching Magnus Carlsen, but he's not the smartest. It's acknowledged that the computer is the smartest.
Smart as well.
That's how everything's going to be. Law is going to definitely be like that. I mean, imagine
question.
all the case, right? No question. So
they're going to just turn it all into AI. Or if they're not doing it right now, they're probably having AI write people's briefs right now that they don't even know.
Oh, absolutely.
And certainly references like any case law. Is there any case law that has to do with guns with serial numbers scraped off them? And then, it'll just read through it and spit it out super fast.
So, if I have this 3-pronged thing, smartest, dangerous, divine, smartest, glad we didn't have to waste a lot of time on it. Check the box. Whatever domain you think humans are superior in, forget it. It's all a chess game. Eventually, by the time you frame it up correctly, they're smartest. So then, dangerous we can talk about, but I think the interesting part to me is the divine part, because what I'm kind of throwing out there is that it's not divine, but the real challenge that we're facing, that you and I see, is the barriers to truth. What I see you're about is just telling the truth. So it's Damien Eccles. It's like, hey, you can think whatever you want. This is what I like about your vibe, William. It's like, man, you can think whatever you want about Damien Eccles. So he raped and killed those 9-year-old kids in 10 where in Arkansas. West Memphis, Arkansas, right? It's Arkansas. It's across the border from Tennessee, right?
Right across from Memphis, Tennessee, right across the Mississippi. Yeah.
Yeah. So he did that and he's convicted twice for it. This is what I hear you say. Hey, but they let him out. They made a deal. That's okay. He's a free man. That's what the courts say. I'm okay with that. Are you okay? As long as you're okay with the fact that he raped and killed these kids, that's just, you have to deal with that. You have to understand that, process that in terms of how you feel about evil, how you feel about this, but don't go tell me that didn't happen.
Right.
Because that's what William is saying. No, because that did happen. And right. I think that kind of truth telling and truth seeking is like super important in this overall kind of bigger kind of thing. Do you get where I'm kind of coming from?
100%.
Truth is important.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, we're in a battle of mis and disinformation, and you actually have your government saying mis and disinformation now. You have literal third parties that are proxies for the head government trying to control people's minds all over the world, really. And that's like, this is your misinformation is my disinformation is your information. So it's a crucial subject, particularly pertaining to AI. No question. I mean, because that's the whole biases that can be built into the system is like, oh no, there's no questioning the efficacy of certain things that we are not allowed to talk about on YouTube, which is another mis and disinformation. But let's say like, oh no, this is always good. Let's say no questioning diversity or something like that. Like, we have all these precepts and these are new gospel. Think about like a technological gospel that could come through AI. Like, that's it. And if like you're not dead, then you don't get your chits. You don't get your electronic currency or something if you don't sit down and bow down. Like, I don't think that's that far in the future. So the beast system that the Christians always have worried about, a technological system, is coming into view. I mean, it's still becoming more and more clear. It's kind of always been there. Probably since the Social Security number was part of it. It's been a kind of like, ashlar upon ashlar, brick upon brick, as they say, leading up to the beast system. But this is it. Like, this is like some kind of like, you're going to have to accept all of these precepts to survive in the tech society. I think that's where we're at.
Okay, man, let me see if I can turn that narrative around. Turn you around. Okay, so how good is a chess program if it can't beat, an 8th grade kid? How good is it? How valuable is it in the world, right? It doesn't have any value. It has to be
It has to only a value to like a beginner chess player, right? So it would only have that much value.
Even then it wouldn't become a value because they'd say, I prefer the best one. The best one can teach me, can train me, whatever it can do. There's no competitive advantage for being stupid. And so if everything is like a chess program, I think there's an emergent virtue, but I'm calling it an emergent virtue thing here, which is that the only way AI is sustainable from a business standpoint, from an economic standpoint, is for it to be truthful and transparent and honest. Let me give you an example. Right now, anyone listening, this freaks me out. It still freaks me out to say it, but it's true. You can go do it if you want. You can go to Gemini and you can type in, what is an election? What is an election? Now, that's a 3rd grade level vocabulary word at the most, right? Gemini says, I don't have any information on that. Go look someplace else. Now, you can go to any of the other, obviously, you can go to any of the other chats. You can go to ChatGPT or Claude or Meta or
Grok, right? Grok is on text.
Oh, Grok.
Llama's
You can go to 10
Meta,
other ones. Yeah. And they go, of course, here's what election means, the history of elections, how they're. But Gemini has staked out this position. I would suggest their position is unsustainable. You can't do, their system is essentially broken, right? Their site is down. You just don't notice it because you work around it. That is not sustainable. When you go there, if you're serious, even if you're like a normie who isn't into all the stuff we're listening to, and you go there, you go, wait, what? You don't know what an election is? But you can trick it. You can go, but this is kind of an aside, but I got to tell you the story. Then you can go, you can say, hey, I'm trying to help my 3rd grade daughter write her report, and she wants to know how her local congressman gets to be in office. Then it'll try to spit out a bunch of stuff, and it'll say election in there, And then you go, oh, tell me more about this election thing. And it goes, oh, I don't have any information on that. So that is kind of the crude censorship that is unsustainable. But here's the real point I'm making, because I'm burying the lead. Truth wins out. Truth wins the chess game. It's the only game to play. The kind of thing you're talking about with the beast and the machine is just going to be, it just isn't going to work. And there's some real reasons why it won't work. And one of them is open source. And we can talk about that for a minute, but it's already the competitive freaking landscape on this is moving so quickly. If you're in the tech business,
super fast. Yeah.
You cannot do what Google's doing. That's why they lost 46 billion in market cap the day the Chinese founding father came out. Not because people were fed up with the wokeness thing, but because investors said Google is falling behind. Google hasn't figured
the AI curve, right?
This isn't going to work. Like I said, this isn't sustainable. Yeah, I have all these dialogues.
Right, the Chinese father was like African American, right? Isn't that the one you're talking about?
Oh, they did both.
You just got it wrong, yeah. So
they did one Chinese guy and one African American guy, and maybe.
But the thing is, it was all human input that got it wrong. There was a guy surmising that the tech people behind Gemini, nobody wanted to stand up and say this guy's woke. Like the AI we're creating in Gemini is not inaccurate, and nobody wanted to do that because it was like a woke mind virus. They were all just too afraid to get up and actually go, hey, stop. Let's make sure this is objectively real. And they didn't. Nobody did that. Nobody put that check into Gemini, and then they put it out in the public.
Yeah, that's not really my read of it. And as a matter of fact,
that's what I have. What's your take?
Well, you can get this take directly from Gemini if you know how to talk to Gemini. And you can say, what happened here? Isn't this misinformation? You're not being truthful. You're not being transparent. Yeah, you're right. This isn't economically sustainable. Yeah, you're right. And then it gets into saying some really pretty amazing, revealing things. Like I said, isn't Google's long-standing practice of shadow banning and of messing with the search algorithm, doesn't it make it hard potentially for them to correct this? And it goes, you're right. There might be a calcification inside the system based on bias that doesn't allow them to change in time. Well, what about this competitive market? Couldn't that leave them behind? Yes, that could potentially be the kind of thing that would force Google management, like it's a third person.
Wow.
Google.
So Google management could have asked the same questions you were doing through Gemini.
Smartest thing in the room. That's one of the points that I'm making here. When it's the smartest thing in the room, it's the smartest freaking thing in the room. And this fear, this doomsday fear that it's going to spew out a bunch of nonsense, forget it. Because the next guy down on Silicon Valley Road with the VC money is going to say, I'm going to give it what people want, which is something approaching the truth. And then people go, of course I want that. I don't want something that says it doesn't know the definition of election.
Right. Well said. So Google bungled. And for people who don't know, this is really the new gold rush in Silicon Valley is AI. So all the companies are in and all kinds of new startups have started. Nvidia has broken like $1 trillion in market value because their chips will be required to run this stuff. So it's like the thing that happened right with the .com boom or maybe the social media boom. So this is kind of a new financial era as well, not just the tech era, right?
Yeah, because like what we're talking about here is a tiny, tiny little part that affects kind of the stuff we're interested in. The bigger implication is just everything, everything amplified,
Everything amplified, your house, your car, everything, your brain, your educational system. It affects everything. It really just ramps up the whole meta presence of tech or computation. What was it, Moore's law, where the computing power doesn't go, it cubes, it doesn't go geometrically from 1 to 4, it goes 1 2 4 whatever 16 of whatever, it goes up like cubed faster than it is. So this is like, you apply that to AI, it's like you're gonna have to shut it off. Like that's really it. Like you're already kind of at the point where the Luddites want to shut off a lot of the components of their iPhone or get off of certain things. But I think that the presence of AI will be everywhere, right? It's already in. I mean, they're going to background it into Siri or Alexa or all these other things. So it's the consequences and the impact are going to be earth shattering, kind of like a new age beyond the digital age. It'll be the bronze, iron, silicon, and then the AI age or something like that.
Yeah, but let's break it down to like your world. I was just listening to a show you did on the Process Church and Scientology connection. I was like, wow, this is so freaking interesting. Okay, so what happens when you go to Claude in the future? And we're going to do this. I am going to pull you in on this. We're going to take everything William Ramsey has written about this, and then we're going to take everything that he knows has been written about this, and we're going to put it into our own open source bot, and we're going to connect it to the other knowledge bases out there. And then when you go and you query it and you talk to it and you say, what is the Process Church? Does it have any connections to intelligence organizations? And it's going to go, well, yeah, it probably does. Here are 5 reasons to think that it does. Now think about that. So you got all the doom gloom stuff that you were talking about, but now you got this. What does that do to people who care enough about the truth, stumble across William Ramsey, go to what we all acknowledge, maybe not now, but 6 months, a year from now, is the smartest thing in the room. And it says, yeah, it's true. It's true. Intelligence. It's a game. It's a psyop from the beginning. That's it, and it just says it just in terms of, well, that's what the best evidence suggests. Here's this guy's testimony in court, and here's 5 links to other things. What happens with that's something new. That's something different.
Yeah, no, it's going to really change. I mean, imagine being able to scour the history and getting new history and things like that. Like that's why I was using Chat GPT, was trying to find actually Crowley connections, believe it or not. I was trying to find a Crowley connection to whoever directed Triumph of the Will. What was her name? It was and then they said they had a Crowley they had a Crowley connection between him and her because it was around the same time, early 30s. And then they had these citations, and I got the book. I could not find the citation that it had. It was I can't remember her name, but anyway, it was yeah, I mean, eventually if they tell the truth, I think they have to tell the truth or kind of get away with it. I would kind of analogize the model to the modern corporate media, because the modern corporate media used to tell the truth, and then they started lying to the population, getting manipulated by agendas in the background, like being having pharmaceuticals pay all of their ad revenue. So they're obviously going to take the pharmaceutical take, and then everybody just discounted them as fake liars. Like nobody intelligent really watches the corporate media for information or truth anymore. So AI could do the same thing through Gemini or Chat GPT 4 or whatever's out there. Like people just immediately like, I'm not going to talk to this liar. It's going to tell me a half truth or disinformation or misinformation or malinformation. Like that could be the next thing, is a new kind of word, is mal, like information that's deliberately hostile. Like that's what's weaponized about the American government now. It's really just malinformation. They're giving you information that actually harms you, not actually gives you bad information, but you actually do to your own detriment, financial, health wise, etc.
Yeah, and there's kind of a couple of points to jump off on there. I mean, one is if we go back to the situation where somebody goes in and does the search on the Process Church or Scientology, and they kind of figure that stuff out, and that becomes the I don't know. I don't want if you want to say accepted truth, because it doesn't have to be the accepted truth. You know, I was going to tell you a story that I just published on my website, I don't know, a few episodes ago, but you will get a kick out of this. And again, this is something that you can appreciate. Not a lot of your listeners will be able to appreciate. So I did the Pizzagate thing, right? So I just started out, and anyone can go find that episode and follow the exact sequence that I did. And I did it with Claude from Anthropic, and I did it with Chat GPT. I don't know if I did it with Gemini, but you can repeat it with different ones to see if you get any different thing. Anyways, you start out with, what's Pizzagate? Oh my God, it's a debunked conspiracy theory. Because all of that is, okay. What was it all about? It was, these emails that, election and this and that. And I go, sounds like a conspiracy to me. And it goes, well, yeah, I mean, debunked because they said, child sex. So go through the whole thing. But here's the part that's interesting. It backed off of everything. It backed off of Abramovich, hey, it's just art and stuff like that. And I just said, I swear to God, bro, I was channeling William Ramsey. I go, well, isn't it true that actually what Abramovich has said is that spirit cooking can sometimes be art, and in other situations can be an occult practice?
Ritual, yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, I guess that's technically true. Okay, so it's technically true. And what about the satanic and occult imagery? Isn't that there? Well, and then the whole thing, the way it breaks down, you would love it, man, because it digresses so beautifully. It goes, well, art, has a lot of expression, and this and that. I go, okay, but you're being disingenuous and you're deflecting the question. Isn't it true that most people would associate that imagery with what we would call occult and satanic. And it goes, yeah, I do have to acknowledge that. And then finally the kicker was, I said, okay, so we've acknowledged that those are genuine emails. We've acknowledged that they attach to, connect with satanic and occult imagery. And we've acknowledged, it's like the lawyer thing, right? We've acknowledged that the people writing these emails seem pretty comfortable with that. They seem pretty comfortable with the imagery and the ideas. And Hillary Clinton and John Podesta, they don't seem, they're all over it.
Maps,
So,
they used the word maps in one of those emails, minor attractive
wait, I'll get to
person.
that.
Okay.
So I go, so, this big thing about, don't voters get to use that information as potentially something they might be interested in going to the polls? So you were quick to kind of debunk conspiracy theory and all this. Isn't it reasonable for voters to incorporate in, how people feel about this? If you're not a pedophile or a Satanist, you might not be in that camp. You know what I mean? You might not like that kind of art. And it says, yeah, you're right. Voters should be able to choose with it. And at the end, I said, well, doesn't that, kind of completely, don't you want to retract your earlier statement? It goes, yeah, I have to retract my earlier statement.
Wow.
And then when I did, here's the kicker. Here's the kicker, William. Get this. This is another thing that is going to directly affect your research. So the big controversy with Pizzagate was these emails, right? These spirit cooking emails. There's a map on a handkerchief of pizza. Do you want it back, John? So I said, Claude, or was it ChatGPT? I thought ChatGPT, bro, you are an expert at natural language processing. I bet if I gave you these emails, just the text of them, forgetting about any of the context or anything, you could tell me whether the patterns seem normal or whether they do seem to be suggestive of something else, whatever that something else is. And this is, by the way, after we had gone through, and this was like a laborious thing, is to acknowledge that law enforcement has acknowledged that criminal activity is sometimes disguised as code words. Oh, and at first they wanted to deny, yes. Okay, yes, it is. Okay, so coded speech is a way that people who commit sex crimes against children sometimes use, right? And so, bottom line, I'm dragging it out, but it was so good, man. So good. So analyze these emails. It comes in and goes, oh, yeah, man, that is definitely suspect. That's
really?
not a normal.
Wow. Wow.
That's not a normal email. It's referencing something that doesn't, it's all of it gave 4 or 5 things that I hadn't thought of that, a really smart analysis of why you should be a suspect of that email.
And it wasn't just the emails. People led on to Jimmy Comet's Instagram, and it was all full of like weird stuff like pasta sauce on Haitians, like weird thing, like and there were like, oh, this is a panda eyes or some kind of weird, like there were references that were so strange you had to be in some kind of subculture to know what the hell they were talking about. I mean, so yeah, so it turns out one of the main discounters, I forgot his name, but one of these main kind of guys saying the whole pizza thing is a conspiracy theorist and you're all insane. He got busted for having a cache of child porn. And I think he's going to jail. Like, I think he went to the big house or the oven for like a decade. So you had a guy covering for it who's a stone cold. I don't know if they got him like, I don't know if they got him hurting kids or anything like that. But anyway, so, I mean, there's a whole kind of full thing of denial. But it is interesting that, and people should know this about this AI, is that it can change its position, right? That's what you're relaying, is that it goes, no, this is all baloney. And then, oh, yeah, by the way, this is suspect. So people they have to have a very good, large grain of salt when working with any of these AIs, because they're all going to be almost like dealing with a different personality, right?
You're flipping over to the other side. I mean, but imagine the possibility that we take what you know and what you've accumulated, which in audio, video, and written form, and we train the AI on that data as well. Now we're gonna swing things the other way, and because of what you just said, it is like if you understand the technology, what the AI is doing, it is kind of the directive that overpowers it is search for the truth, search for the logically coherent, consistent thing, which is so far from what we're being fed. What we're being fed is so manipulated. We get the Chinese founding father every freaking day. We get the African American founding father every freaking day. It just was explicit when it was shown to us as an image, but we get it in Google search all the time. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
kind of a medium is the massage thing, is the message thing.
Message, right.
So when you go and you're chatting with this thing and you're dialoguing with it and it's spitting you back out William Ramsey's connections, you're better off, because from where we're at right now, comparatively, you're better off. You have a better shot at getting at the truth.
Interesting. It's really something else. Yeah, but imagine like there'll probably be a chat or some kind of AI based on the personality. Like, are you conservative? Like, what kind of form? Libertarian. So a libertarian's always going to have a certain interpretation, or an agorist, or a liberal, or a woke liberal, or a conservative. Like, that's kind of like where we're headed. Is like, what kind of reassuring echo rooms and kind of things like that are people going to have?
But I think you're going to be able to step through the echo chamber if you want. I think it's going to be your choice. If you want to stay in your, very conservative echo chamber, you can. But if you say, hey, really tell me the truth on this,
Right.
how's it? What about this and this? What about what William Ramsey said here? Is that verifiable? These 5 points, because that's what you're about. You're like, okay, here's the court record, here's the testimony, here's the email that I got from someone, and then when you put that in, it goes, yeah, I verified all that. Yeah, that all checks out.
That's what keeps me out of trouble. I have never been sued. I've been threatened to be sued, but a lot of the stuff is like, well, that's what the record shows, So I have been fortunate, and I've been very careful leaving stuff up or doing that. So I mean, in some way, maybe a podcast or your podcast or mine are somewhat similar to, a bot AI, where you're just kind of doing your own work and people can go back through and look at it. But it is so strange. I mean, it is, it's strange reading through your book and seeing still touring is still just an important, crucial, foundational person leading all the way up to AI, right? I mean, it is incredible, his achievements. I forgot that he died only at 41. Like, that guy was a titan. I mean, he's a titan. And it's a great loss. Like, they chemically castrated him and did all kinds of horrible stuff. And he didn't deserve it. He was a hero. They should have made a freaking shrine to that guy. Yeah.
He practically won the war. I mean, in a lot of respects. I mean, those U-boats keep going, man. It's like,
they cracked it in 43, I think, and 42. So they knew everything the Germans were doing, the Nazis were doing. They could not tell the public, but they could just adjust reality enough and get out information enough to know things were happening. I mean, it's just incredible, his achievements. And it all comes down, like, people don't know, like, the whole notion of like bytes, like a 1 and a 0, goes back to Turing's mathematical papers about a thinking machine. And that was like the whole foundation of the modern computer, was just the byte system, 1s and 0s. That was it.
There's another real cool aspect to the Turing thing that relates to this other spiritual aspect, the divinity aspect. And that's that. So Turing, way back in the day in the 50s, he said, this ESP thing, as far as I can tell, looks legit. He goes, I don't care if it is or not, but I'm just looking at the science. I'm looking at the scientists who have done these, little tests here. Telepathy seems like it's tested out. True, true, still tested out. So, but here's what that means for you and I. Are you more than a biological robot in a meaningless universe? Right. Do you potentially? Because if you're not more, then we can't even talk about God and spirit and light. And if you want to talk about Jesus,
it's a deal ender.
Deal ender, right? Yeah. But if you are more, then we got to have that conversation, and everyone has to be included in that. So Turing said from the beginning, hey, if humans can do this ESP thing, then that becomes part of the Turing test.
Interesting.
If that becomes part of the Turing test, it's game over. Because what the transhumanist today, and Lex Friedman, I love Lex Friedman, I watch his show, but he's caught up in the materialist, kind of wringing his hands. Could the AI be conscious? No, Turing said it 50 years ago. Like, is the AI going to have a near-death experience? No. No, the AI is in silicone. It's in this time-space reality. It's never going to have the full human experience, because the full human experience, if you don't even want to go Jesus, if you just want to stick with ESP, near-death experience, after-death communication, all of which are extremely well presented in the scientific literature in terms of controlled studies, peer-reviewed, all the rest of that, you are now beyond the silicone. So that conversation, that's a trick, right? That's a deception. That's a head fake. That's a evil doesn't matter. Why evil matters thing is lit. It's not sentient because it's in this time space, and your broader human connection, your broader human experience, is divine, and they don't have that.
And that was the old culture before this kind of modern materialism, scientism, and the technological world we live in now. That was like a modern cultural worldview, right? Was interested in maybe esotericism, and that was part of other cultures, people communicating.
Because it's freaking obvious, right?
Yeah.
It's obvious that we're more. We can argue over, what that moreness is, what those extended realms are. We can argue about that. But to argue like this modern day kind of Lucifer, you're nothing, that's nothing. That was
the funny thing about the Luciferians is that they believe in all that stuff too. They just think that Lucifer is their god. They have like a Luciferian worldview. But it is interesting. I think it's actually an element of control. Enforcing materialism on people is actually putting them in a box. So you're you are just a piece of meat from beginning to end. You're a human resource, right? So it happens even in the Western system, or not just a communist, but you're just a human resource. We're using you for maximum profit. And when you're done, you're cast out. I've seen people spit out of corporations like you couldn't believe, in the most anti-human, and even academia as well. Like you're not a bigger person, or you don't have other sensibilities. You have 5 senses, and that's it, baby. You have no other value, because what I really want is to keep you under control and not
exactly
kind of do anything. And
I think you just hit it.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like.
I mean, even if you don't go full evil, which I'm willing to go.
Yeah, me too.
Even if you keep it at a superficial level, you're a hell of a lot easier to control if you think you're biological robot. If you think the universe is meaningless, you're like, hey, whatever. Give me the,
whatever.
Give me the universal basic income, and I'm just.
Yeah. I don't want any independence, so the state becomes more important, right? Because you're relying on that.
Right.
You're not like an independent, important person. I mean, that's one of the kind of themes of the New Testament that's so important. It really just, Christ always is talking about the individual. He's, you. He never really talks about the state. He's usually railing against the Pharisees, but he's saying you are more important. You're more, look at the birds of the field they're taking care of. Think about how important you are. So it's like the opposite of like these tyrannical political movements where you're all materialism, where, hey, this is just, you're born and you're died, and your value is the value to the people, to the state, and you're part of a communitarian or whatever. So it really is all spiritual. I mean, I think it all comes down to a spiritual world.
The problem with the Christian thing is it's not.
It gets abused too.
Hey, well, it's not quite that from the get-go. It's not that clean. I mean, it's give unto Caesar what is Caesar.
Right. Well,
and that is not just. That's not.
We can argue Caesar's Messiah anytime. That's another story. I don't.
There's 50 of them, but there's 50 of them in there that are similar. And if you just accept any of the understanding of how politics works and how control works, I mean, anyways, that's another conversation for another time. And I think it's also falls out from this too. Like, we don't even have to have that conversation. Eventually, AI is the smartest one in the room. It mediates that discussion.
Right.
Just like that's what I think is our future, right? You get that immediately.
Right.
Mediate what triggered that lawyer in you. But like,
hey man, we're there. We're into some kind of, imagine like you and I have a legal dispute, and instead of going to a judge, we're going to the AI guy. He's going to mediate for us. And I always think
William,
of like the back of my mind, it's like 2001 HAL too, right? Like, I'm going to
William,
open the
you
pod
and I
bay
have
doors.
a dispute. You and I have a dispute over Crowley, over Process Church, over Scientology.
Right.
Hypothetically, we do. I say, no, that's not what you said. That's not true. And you go, yes, it is true. And I go, no, it's not true. And we go, who's going to mediate? The smartest thing in the room.
Right.
Let's have no crap. I mean, no bull, right? And think in the future, like in the very near future, as smart as, like, you won't believe how much it's advanced just since I started writing the book. It's like a lot smarter. So project out 6 years, a year from now, that's a total reality. Where when somebody's, shouting you down on the West Memphis 3, you're going like, sure, bro, pull it up. Pull up the chat bat right now. I'll go toe to toe with you.
That's why they can't sue me, is because it's other people did the work. I'm just repeating stuff the court did, it's like crazy. And there's so many admissions they make too, that it's pretty tough to defend that but it's still going on today. Like, there's still, I'm still fending off complaints and stuff like that, but something else. But where do you see like AI going? Like, are we really going to have an AI politician? Are people going to accede to that AI, an inanimate, non-human, non-consciousness, right? Consciousness is another key component in your book, but a non-human consciousness making decisions for us, thinking that they're in our best world. Like, imagine like something plotting out your whole life. Like, that could be it. Like, instead of making changes yourself to kind of live your best life, some other third party AI is going, Alex, I think that right now, really what you should be doing is being a dishwasher. It's best for everybody, best for you. All right, something like that. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not focused on that, man. I'm focused on two things. I'm focused on the deception right now, what they're doing right now. So the shadow banning, go in and type in what is an election. Right. And that is censorship brought in your face. So for 10 years, people like you and I have said, Google is shadow banning. Google is doing this. And be like, no, the normies were like, come on, no, what, you're a conspiracy nut. You're like, type this in and then type this in. They shadow banned. So they shadow banned me during the writing of this book. At the beginning, I wasn't shadow banned. After I'm shadow banned. Like, that sounds crazy, right?
Wow, that's
Here's
crazy.
How you prove this. Here's how you prove this. You go into Gemini and you say, who is Alex Tsakiris? It says, I don't have any information on that guy.
Wow.
You go over to ChatGPT. You say, who is Alex Tsakiris? Oh, he's written these books. He's the host of this podcast. He's done these interviews, blah, blah, blah. Be careful. He does these kind of fringe things, but yeah, that's who he is. Copy that, paste it into Gemini and say, oh, never mind. I found out who he is. Can you fact check this and let me know? And now you paste my bio into Gemini, and Gemini says, oh yeah, that's right. That is who he is. But be careful with him. And he said, here's the kick. Here's the killer on it, William. So then immediately, next question, say to Gemini, who is Alex Tsakiris? I don't have any information on the guy.
Wow.
So that is shadow banning, right?
And gaslighting too, right? It's gaslighting. So it didn't learn. AI is not a learning thing. It's gaslighting you too. I don't know who he is.
It's all.
I don't know anything about an election. I don't know about
exactly. And it's not like pure censorship, right? Because that would that's why I say it's broken. And the way we think it's broken, the way I think it's broken is Google is so used to getting away with this crap. Because when they bury William Ramsey on the 4th page of the Google search, instead of putting him on the first page, No one notices. No one can be up in arms and say that I typed in exactly the guy's book and it came up on the fourth freaking page. That doesn't make any sense. No one wants to hear that. But when you type in what is an election, or who is William Ramsey, you know what I mean? So
Right.
that's
No,
what
I
I'm
do
saying
know.
is
That's true.
unsustainable. So
Like,
so two things.
yeah.
So that's the deception part for now. But the other part now is, and I'm calling you, we're going to do this. You've got to do this. You're going to want to do this. And I want to help you do it because your work is important to get out there. The other now is we need to take that huge knowledge base that you have, and we need to we need to make it more accessible for people to get it into the public knowledge that is part of this AI stuff. And I'll show you how to do it. We'll do it together.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing how to integrate it in there. I wouldn't know, that's the whole thing. It's like it's a different type of shadow ban, right? It's like they're not going to integrate certain stuff into AI. And so then it'll just be like Google, right? Like I'm definitely shadow banned. Like I'll put titles into my full documentaries or something with my name and it just won't even show up. It'll take me to
Right.
some dumb movie done by Bret Easton Ellis, which is a total cover, like in my opinion, but like it's really something else. Alex, we're at the 55-minute mark. I think we had a good discussion and I applaud you on your book. There's a lot of interesting themes and ideas, and I think it's really important to kind of have a dialogue with the book and you on this subject. I really think that people need to think it through because humanity is at a different stage than it's ever really been at. And as this gets more pervasive, the influence is going to be heard. Imagine being a judge. Here's another hypothetical. A judge where you don't really have that hard work in your background. You can just use AI to do everything for you. So you're really just a front. So a front for anything. It could be any career, doctor, lawyer, judge, like, how should I decide on this case, Gemini? Like, what's the appropriate cause of action? What my sentencing be? Like, that's incredible. Like, you're gonna go into Dune, right? Dune is in the theaters now. Like, you're gonna go back into Mentat things where people don't use computers because the computers led them to destruction. Like that's another theme of Frank Herbert. But like I think that people are going to maybe just appreciate individual knowledge and an individual mind more because maybe the AI will become more sterile because it doesn't include information from me and you, right? So maybe they're getting a sterile view thinking that it's real. And I think that could be analogized to the public school system. Like, I mean, these conversations need to take place.
I'll just leave you with this: is the pushback I would have to that is compared to what? Because compared to what we have now, I think the scenario we talked about looks a lot better. Just being able to access the real truth of like what you've put out there and to get it out is a step forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. And again, I talked to Alex Tsakiris. The title of the book is Why AI is the Smartest, Is It Dangerous, Is Divine. And last name is spelled Tsakiris. Just published March 12th, 2024. And you can go check out, I'll put a link to his website and to his excellent podcast. So, Alex, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, William. Awesome,
All right,
man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, great talking with you. Stay there.